Hi, I'm Sarah Makris, and this is the Pricing on the Cake.
Welcome to the Pricing on the Cake, the podcast that's all about growing a profitable business confidently. Today, I'm joined by Sarah Makris. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. I love the fact that you're here with us today, and I'm really excited for you to share some of your insights with us. But first of all, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Sarah Makris, and I'm an executive coach, and I help senior executives and early stage entrepreneurs who are just leaving the corporate world to build their personal brand, increase their professional value, and fast track their career.
Oh, awesome. That was so well. That was smooth. Oh gosh, I love that. I can imagine that there's a lot of different people that you are helping at such a high level, and it's such a big change for them. How did you come to be in this position where you're helping people who are in those roles change to something that's totally different, like being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, sure. So I worked in the corporate world for a good 20 years, or 15 actually, and then I went on mat leave and realised that corporate world was not for me anymore. My husband has businesses, and it just wasn't the right family fit, and that often changes for women. You know, they've been working for a company, and then they're like, okay, now I need to work out what I'm going to do to fit within everything else I need to do. So for me, that was I did a few different things. I started a fashion blog, which was awesome, just to keep my mental space going and learning new skills and so forth. I studied fashion design. I did a whole heap of different things, and then I was like, but I really loved what I did, which was corporate affairs. So I worked at a very high level in large organisations, advising CEOs and managing directors on reputation. So it was, I had a PR background basically. And I was like, okay, well, I've got to start getting out there and building my own brand. So I sort of had to do it from a business perspective. And a lot of my clients are within an organisation looking to progress. But I also have clients who are leaving the corporate world and wanting to do exactly what I did, which was start my own business. Yeah. So now I teach them, the ones that are in that boat, how to build their personal brand and get out there, push themselves out there and, build their profile so they're attracting the right people, the right the right clients and so forth.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. I know you mentioned personal brand a couple of times, and it's a bit of a hot topic now, especially in the entrepreneurship community. Why is building a personal brand so important?
It's really, there's a couple of reasons. I mean, first of all, people buy from people. So you are not going to be, it's much more effective to go out there and build the personal brand rather than to start from scratch with a brand that no one really aligns with. And even if you do have a second sort of subsidiary brand, it should be you as the person really selling whatever you're selling. People want to get to know you. It's a lot easier to get cut through when you are selling yourself as rather than a brand that doesn't have a face. And also that's proven in things like, look at Apple, look at Tesla. Everyone knows the CEO behind the brand, and they've got so many more followers than the actual brand. So
that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's really important. It also means that you can then transition into other things very easily because, you've already built that brand equity in your own brand. Yeah, and it helps you earn more. It helps you increase your professional value, just get cut through in general.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. The fact that the CEOs behind those big brands actually have like more followers and more impact and more influence because there's so much more connection there, right? We connect with people. We don't connect with brands. They're not things that we really connect to as much. Well, that's so true. What do you think holds people back, when they first hear about the idea of building a personal brand? I mean, it's easier for some people, if they're very extroverted or that, like I'm an extrovert. So for me, getting out there and putting myself out there, I don't find it as hard as some people do, but I can imagine that some people might be really nervous or shy or introverted about it. What are some other things that hold people back, and what do you usually recommend to them to overcome that?
That's a really great question because I think everybody has that fear initially. And as business owners, we've got no choice. Like we've got to be out. Yeah. If we're not out there, no one knows about us.
Exactly.
No one knows the value we bring. And it's really hard to have a sustainable business.
If you're not selling.
Not out there. So that's sort of, I think, step number one, you just have to get your head around the fact that if you want a successful business, people have to know what you have to offer.
Yeah.
And then, and I think it's harder for executives, obviously, because they don't have a business to sell. They're selling purely themselves and their next job. But when it comes to entrepreneurs, I think one of the most important things is just to get out of your own way and stop worrying that everybody's looking at you. So one of the most common things, because I focus a lot on getting people to create original content that builds their brand and positions them as an expert at what they do. So the only way really to do that is to create original content. And that is often the barrier for a lot of people. They're comfortable on something like Instagram, or they're comfortable on YouTube's scary. I'm not a yet. But Instagram's fine. People feel comfortable. They feel really comfortable sharing original content socially, like about themselves. Yeah. But when it gets to something like LinkedIn, or where being just an expert, it's scary. So what I always tell people is, don't worry, just start. You've just got to start, right? And most importantly, not worry about probably no one's going to see it the first time you publish something, a blog post. I think we've all been there, like that. Yes, yeah. Oh my God, everyone's going to see it, and no one sees it. Maybe your mum sees it, right? Or
your mum likes it, and your partner likes it, and that's the 2 likes you get for a good few months.
Right. And then by the time other people notice, you're kind of feeling much more confident about it. So I take my clients through a process of becoming really clear on what they want to be known for, and then building messaging around that, and understanding that is the only, if you just focus on what you want to be known for and you really nail that, your confidence builds massively. Absolutely. But it's when you're trying to you don't really have any structure around the brand that you want to build and what you want to be known for, that's when I think confidence can get really can get in the way. A lack of confidence.
Yeah, it is definitely hardest at the start, because you're starting from scratch, you're starting from zero, you don't have any certainty, right? It's so vague, it's so unknown. You're just like, what if this doesn't work? What if people laugh at me? But at the end of the day, and I tell this to my clients as well, like, people want to get to know you as a person. Like, it's funny because in the social media content that I share, my educational posts will get like a few likes or that. But if I share a really funny meme about chickens or cake or cheese, because I'm addicted to cheese, it'll just go through the roof and everyone will comment and things. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And back when I started, I would never share stuff like that, because I'd be like, no, I need to be professional and perfect and, you know, boring and austere and all of those things. But at the end of the day, I'm a person, and all the people I sell to are also people. And, things like a sense of humor or a sense of playfulness is really integral to who I am. And I want to share that. And that's going to resonate with some people and not with others. And that's okay. And I think it's so important to, as you said, like, build your personal brand so that it is about you and it's genuine and it's, transparent, so that people can get to know you. I think that's a really effective way.
They want to see your vulnerability too. So they want to know that you relate to them and that you can empathize, and you've been in the same situation. And I mean, especially as business owners, like, we've all had those, like, that beginning stage, those crappy days. I mean, it's just an up and down.
The days where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to close the business.
But, people want to see that you're not perfect. They do, and that vulnerable side, without pouring. You've also got to put a line around how much and why you're sharing it. I think that's another thing that's really important, is that purpose. Like, why are you sharing what you're sharing? Like, for you were sharing those things because they're fun and you want to show that side of your personality. But to share things like, I think that's a really important part too. You don't want to overshare if there's no purpose to that.
Yeah, definitely. So as people get started, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see new entrepreneurs making in terms of like the content they're sharing or how they go about building their personal brand?
Yeah, probably not having real clarity on what they are wanting to be experts in. Mm-hmm. So I deal with obviously service-based businesses, but if you're you've come out of corporate and you're offering, copywriting services or law services or business coaching or whatever it is, but really kind of getting clear on what it is, the value you bring. Mm-hmm. Like, what is that value? It's not, for me, it's not building someone's personal brand. It's the value at the end of that, which is helping them to fast track their career or getting promotions or getting more clients. So that's, being really clear on the value that you bring and also having clear messaging around that, and showing your personality, most importantly. Like, be, like we said before, be a person, but being really clear, and also creating original content. I can't say that enough to people. Like, it's you know, not stuff you've shared, not stuff that's someone else's, your thoughts, your feelings, your tips, your learnings, your insights. Yeah. Absolutely. And also people thinking that they're showing off by putting out content, and it's like, you're not, you're just building a brand, you're advocating for yourself, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big thing that I see with, because most of my clients are women, and when they talk about, you know, sharing tips or things like that, they worry about coming across as arrogant or bossy or too opinionated and things like that. And there is still, you know, a lot of stigma around those words being associated with women, whereas like if men were doing it, they'd be like, you know, great leaders and ambitious and all of those sorts of things. So I love to tell them the same thing. I encourage them. I say, no, this is a really good thing for you to do. It's a positive thing, and people will see you in a positive light when you do this. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done for entrepreneurs in terms of building their personal brand. What are some ways that, you know, if they're struggling with the mindset side of it, of overcoming, you know, confidence issues, what are some ways that they can address that and build their confidence to actually get to the point where they start sharing that original content?
So I always suggest that you find where you feel comfortable. So some people love to write. Like, I love to write. You obviously like video and voice, right? Some people are like, oh my God, there's no way I could do that. For many years, I just wrote, because that was my spot and I felt comfortable with it. And then I started doing live webinars, which freaked me out, but that was really, that was a good thing. So I think that's another way to build your confidence is, find what you feel, start where you feel comfortable, you know, channel you feel comfortable in, but also try and do things that are scary. Like, I'm a big advocate for scary things. So when I say that, I mean, I did some live webinars, and I was like, because I wouldn't do live videos. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do live videos. I don't know why I had it in my head. And then I signed up to do 5 live webinars with a webinar sort of service, and I had no choice. And so the first webinar I had was all about building your confidence, and avoiding the imposter syndrome and so forth. Had 450 people sign up around the world. Wow. And to say I was freaking out was the biggest understatement I've ever had.
Oh gosh.
I was like, what have I done? But I just thought, I have to do this. I have to do this. And once I did it, it was just, it was like empowering, because I suddenly felt so much more confident. And I knew I had more to go, which was a bit scary, but I was so much easier the next time. And I think that's the best way to build confidence, is just to push yourself out of that comfort zone as soon as you can.
Yeah. And I find that taking little steps at the start can be a big help as well. You know, I don't want people listening to think like they have to immediately go out and find a 450 audience webinar to do.
I literally jumped off the bridge, didn't I?
Yeah. But it worked for you, and that's so awesome. I'm really glad that you got to do that. I remember when I was starting to build my confidence around doing lives and Facebook lives, because I was shockingly nervous about that stuff at first. So what I did was, it's a little bit embarrassing. I made a Facebook group with just myself in it, and I would do lives in there. And I would practice them. And for a while I would do it, I would record it, and I would download it and share it as a video if I liked it, or I would delete it if I didn't like it. But I just did it over and over again until it got to a point where my hands weren't clammy when I was like 10 minutes before the live. I wasn't like shaking in my voice. And now, like, I can jump on a live workshop, a live whatever. And I feel fine. I just feel excited. You know, I still get like a little bit nervous before like a workshop or that, because I care, right? I want to do a good job, and I want to educate people, entertain them. But doing little things like that, like, I found little steps helped really well for me. So yeah, I think that just doing something, whether it's a big step like you or little steps like me, is a huge benefit to that. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think what makes those things successful, and even, you know, just doing something every day, but being really clear on the messages that you have, the value you bring, like we said before, that clarity is what gives you that confidence as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think it's such an important thing. I learned more about personal branding when I read Your Story Brand. I can't remember who the author is, but have you read that book?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting book. But they kind of go through the same sort of thing of making your business a story.
Yes.
And they talk about, making it quite personal to the client and to your audience as well. So I think more of that is coming out in a lot of business literature and consulting and things at the moment, which is really, really cool to see. Yeah. And you mentioned before that doing that, like having a personal brand, can actually increase your value, help you get paid more. Can you tell me about that? Because that sounds like something I'd be particularly interested in.
So, I mean, it's obviously different with, entrepreneurs and with, but it's the same principle in terms of the people that can recommend you. The more clients you get, the more once you're positioned as an expert, you can command higher prices. But people, and there always has to, I mean, I'm sure you say this, but there always has to be someone who's more expensive than anyone else, and someone who's cheaper. But it helps you when you build your personal brand. You start attracting the people you want to attract. So those higher value clients, you can position yourself as an expert, because people who are going to pay you more, and they're looking for the best. And if you can position yourself as the best, or at least one of the best, then you're automatically going to attract those clients. And people need to know all the things about you. So when you have a personal brand, people want to learn more about you. You're able to tell more about yourself. And then they learn more about why they should go with you and why you're an expert. And you're basically selling them before you've even had to sell.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that buyer's journey starts so early on. Like when they first read your page, they first go to your website and they're reading your About Me or your blogs. That's when the buying journey really starts, is when they're building that perceived value of finding out, how much do I value this person? Do I want to work with them? So you're absolutely right. And I 100% agree. If you position yourself as an expert, people like that signals a lot of confidence, that signals a lot of credibility. And then you start saying it, and then you prove it to people by doing a really great job, and other people start saying it as well, and it just becomes like a snowball effect. Do you find that with your clients as well?
Totally. Yeah, I find even like with myself, do you mean, or with referrals too? And you might do I think there's a stat around that, something like your client has to see you 7 times before that's like in order to you know.
It's like if they get exposed to you 7 times, then they'll say yes or something like that.
If your client's only seeing you in one form, they're not seeing you on other social channels or in your email or whatever it is, they're not getting to know you. You could just be forgotten tomorrow. I definitely see that.
That's the excuse I give to my marketing manager about why I should get on TikTok. I'm like, it's just another way for people to see me.
You should be on TikTok. I can see you on TikTok.
I probably would if I had the time. What's that? Sorry?
You can't be everywhere. You have to choose.
No, absolutely. Although I do see there's quite a lot of health professionals on there. There's a lot of doctors and things. So some of their videos are funny and some are educational. So I was like, well,
my son is a big TikToker, and he has thousands of fans on there.
Really?
Yeah, he's always experimenting with new things. Oh, this has gone off. This one's had 300,000 views. And
wow.
He's only 12. So.
Oh my gosh. My son is only 6. Don't tell me that. That's terrifying.
Yeah, they're way ahead of us. He's teaching me things all the time.
Oh God. Oh, that's a bit worrying. Perfect. So when you want to get on TikTok, you know who to go to. Exactly. You've got an expert now.
In the house, yep.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Sarah, this conversation has been really, really fun, and I want to thank you again for sharing all of your insights with us today. As a final note, what final piece of advice would you give to entrepreneurs who want to build their personal brand and want to, develop that value of themselves?
Yeah, I would definitely say get clear on your message, but also get clear on the value you bring, and then get out there and talk about it. Talk about your success stories. Talk about the learnings and the insights, and just start just doing something small once a week, like we talked about. I think that's a really good approach.
Fabulous. I love that advice so much. And if people want to get in touch with you, Sarah, how can they do that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, Sarah Makris, and I'm on Instagram at Sarah Makris Australia. And my website is sarahmakris.com.au.
Awesome. And soon to be TikTok, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Watch this space, guys. What's that? All right. Yeah, deal. Alrighty, that is another episode of the Pricing on the Cake all wrapped up. Please don't forget that you can find all of Sarah's details in the description below. If you would like more free resources, please check out my Facebook group, The Pricing on the Cake. It is free to join. And if you want to get in contact with me directly, please email me anytime at courtney@courtneydeegan.com. I reply to every email I get, and I love hearing from you guys. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.